I had the shoe with a review of the Asia Wilson signature, the second one, the A2s. I made fun of her name because Asia Wilson, what are you gonna call me, Africa Choi? But she made me put my foot in my mouth and regret making those corny remarks because, based on the interviews and what she wrote about uh, the process of making this shoe, it really clearly reflected that she has a lot of passion, commitment, and love for the fans and consumers and the shoe sector as a whole. Because those the little bits and pieces that people felt was they came up a little bit short on those bits and pieces. She literally listened and reflected those in this shoe. First of all, for a size 9.5, it weighs about 360 grams, so it's probably one of the lightest Nike basketball shoes out there. For some reason, they're getting heavier and heavier for some of the this season's lineup. So yeah, it feels lightweight, and it feels as light, if not lighter, than what the Digit show. Design-wise, it's got a bit of that composite signature shoes with the Max Air or the composite shoes upper feel, but this is a much thinner material, but at the same time it's not paper thin. It should provide a level of fastening. Overall, the shoe locks down really nicely and forms to your molds or forms to your foot nicely, so that's something really delightful. So let's talk about the three things that Asia Wilson did mention and the upgrades she did implement in this shoe. She listened to consumers talking about how the shoe was a bit too narrow and people could struggle to find the right size. She actually made the shoe wider, roomier, but the width is not in a way that compromises stability or fit. The lace loop is placed in such a way, especially with this little hook at the bottom, it comes down really low, so you can really tighten and have a good one-to-one lockdown and lace loop lock and lockdown feel for that. And the upper works nicely to provide that second skin that forms and moves with you without suffocating you. And there's a bit more breathability effort put in there. So fit-wise, I feel this is much better. And also lockdown-wise, the lace loop was kind of, it had limitations in the A1, but the A2s, it really fastens nicely and it can really form to your needs a lot better. There's no crazy toe box area dead space. And I would say for narrow foot, you can go true to size. For others, I would recommend going half a size because this is, after all, women's shoe. They did make some upgrades, but it is still not the widest shoe out there. Even for wide footers, I don't think this is going to be very uncomfortable because although it's not crazy wide, you can go up half a size or maybe even a whole size depending on your width, and it'll really provide adequate room there without having dead space on the toe box, which is usually ebony and ivory seem to go hand in hand together. Traction is another part that it improved on. It's got this wave bone traction, but it is kind of separated. There are lines like it kind of reminds me of some of the older Adidas models of the crazy light threes, the recent LeBron 23s, and the AE ones. But the best of all three worlds, because the waveform pattern, the groove is deep, the blades are thick, and there's a lot of separation that's chopping up the wave pattern so that there's dust flowing out of the grip. So one thing that she mentioned is that people talked about the traction being a bit dust sensitive, so she made sure that negative aspect is eliminated. So this is much better. I think this is one of the most dust resistant traction we've seen in a while. The cushioning wise, I thought A1 had a decent cushioning. It felt like the book ones. The forefoot had nothing, so she listened and she actually put forefoot Zoom Turbo. Heel wise, I think it's an upgrade from the A1 too, because as you can tell, the foam is a little bit more denser, substantial, but it's got a lot of give, but not in a way that it collapses and flattens like the Tatum 4s. And as you can tell by these little holes punctured in the midsole, there's a lot more room for expansion. So it feels like the durable cushioning shock absorption you get from the Luka 2s, if you remember. The forefoot zoom, unfortunately, it's there, but it's the kind of zoom that you feel when it's gone. It's there, it's getting some job done, but you don't feel it. It's not, your prototypical 21st century 2026 Zoom Strobel or a Zoom Turbo that you can feel at the bottom of your foot. It's positioned in a weird way, I suppose. You don't really feel the zoom. It's kind of like the GT Cut Academy too. There's zoom there. There is some something substantial in the midfoot instead of just your insole and a thin midsole, but it's not that great. It's not the best that Zoom has to offer or the Zoom setting has to offer. It's not exact. There's not a huge heel toe offset, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. But the heel is a lot more substantial than the failure of shoes like the Tatum 4s, where the heel really sinks down fast and you can really injure your Achilles, or you can get Achilles tendonitis that way with your heel sinking. So this does not have that. Even with the Zoom, it does have a little bit more of an offset on the forefoot. So heel cushioning as good, if not better, than the A1. Forefoot, definitely less blisters than the A1, but I wish they would have done something to make the Zoom Turbo unit something that you can feel better, like the Tatum 4 Turbo setting on the forefoot was excellent. I wish it had something like that. So compared to that, it's a little bit less responsive. It's kind of like the GT Cut Academy 2 Zoom Air on the forefoot. Don't really feel much. Like the Ja 1, you had a gum stick Zoom Air on the forefoot, but it was positioned in a nice way that you can feel it, and it feels like there's so much of it there. So the heel slippage, I think depending on your shape of your foot, you might feel a little bit of that, but personally, if you lace them up tight and you start heating them up and moving around in them, overall the shoe really forms and molds to your foot nicely, more so than any other shoe out there, I think. Design-wise, I think this is one of the best Nike designs we've seen in ages. What else can we talk about? Yeah, so overall, there's really nothing to complain about the shoe. It's, except for the forefoot zoom, that's my personal complaint. Better than not having anything like the A1s. Definitely overall, it's an upgrade, and traction, cushion, fit. These three factors, A'ja Wilson listened, and she reflected on the demands and made the necessary changes. So she deserves a lot of credit for that, a lot of applause, a lot of respect for that. The insole is kind of like a EVA insole that's pretty thick and plush, and even without the insole, the shoe itself is a very well-cushioned shoe. So you can make some adjustment with the insoles and customize the fit of the shoe, or provide a bit of more of an offset in the heel or whatnot, but it's up to you. It's almost like there's a midsole pod there to provide anti-inversion protection there. So it's there. The outrigger and the midsole is beefy. It provides ankle rollover there, so it's great. Fit-wise, everything is curved out nicely. There's no pinching sensation anywhere. So, and it's also nicely curved in parts to make sure the shoe flows nicely, and it's rigid and angular in parts where it need be. So overall, you can see that a lot of thought has been put into this shoe. Not just, I think it covers all the stops, like great design, lightweight, great traction, good cushioning, and the price point is also not crazy, especially for a signature with all these tech inside. So I really can't really say anything bad about the shoe, especially after listening to how much thought that A'ja Wilson put into trying to improve the shoe to provide her fans and the consumers something better.